Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. As-salahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhiruhu ala ad-din kullihi wallahu karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent Him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth, and His way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأوثق الأمور كلمة التقوى وخير البلاد ملة إبراهيم وخير السنن سنة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأشرف الحديث ذكر الله وأحسن القصاص هذا القرآن وخير الأمور أوازموها وشر الأمور محدثاتها وأحسن الهدي هدي الأنبياء وأشرف الموت قتل الشهداء وأما الأمة دلالة بعد الهدى. خير الهدى وشير الأعمال ما نفاء وخير الهادي ما أتباء وشير الأمة أمن الكون. The Prophet ﷺ said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the community is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmuru bil-adli wal-ihsani wa ita'i dil-qurba wa yanha anil-fashai wal-munkari wal-baghi ya'idhukum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يُرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan willing to guide, He opens their breast to Islam. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you believe, fear Allah as he should be feared, and do not die except in the state of Islam. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And hold fast altogether by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided among yourselves. كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. You are the best peoples, raised up or evolved for mankind, joining what is right, forbidding what is wrong, and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا تباكون tabakan and tabakin. You shall surely travel from stage to stage. And the commentary says that you shall certainly ride stage after stage. That is to say, you will pass from one stage of suffering to another, to what has been predestined for you. The Quran uses the term ride to denote the ongoing of various stages of suffering. Ride is frequently used in Arabic to signify the passage through risk and difficulty. This usage suggests that difficulties and risks are like horses or mules to be ridden. Each one will take the rider the stage pre-described or predestined for it and for them. Thus each one will deliver them to a new stage, which is again predetermined in the same way as the universal stages. So I would like for you to bear with me for a minute, because we're going to try to go through some stages in a few minutes, inshallah. It goes on to say, I but fulfill towards you this duty of my Lord's mission. Sincere is my advice to you. I know from Allah something that you do not know. Do you wonder that there had come to you a message from your Lord through a man of your own peoples to warn you, so that you may fear Allah and happily you may receive mercy? These ayats relate to traveling from stage to stage. So in a minute or so, I'm going to try to move ourselves from one stage after another through an evolutionary process, which will hopefully land us in a state of somewhat understanding. It also says, but I fulfill toward you the duties of my Lord's mission. I am to you a sincere and trustworthy advisor. Do you wonder that there had come to you a message from your Lord through a man of your own peoples to warn you? Call in remembrance that he made you inheritors after the people of Noah, and gave you stature tall amongst the nations. Call in remembrance the benefits you have received from Allah, that so you may prosper. We're going to go on a little journey, and hopefully it will make some sense. One of the last things I'd like to read, well, not the last, but this is a letter from overseas. You'll get the answer of where it comes from. As you know, the government will change in September 2013. That is because we are trying to fix a meeting between a group of Americans and Western anti-Zionist personalities such as scholars, independent thinkers, politicians, activists, artists, etc. And with the Iranian Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei. After some days, me and Mr. Muntazami, the advisor to International Affairs of Iranian Vice Minister of Culture, will meet the Assistant of International Affairs for the Supreme Leader. It could be possible or not, but as government will change in a few months, we want to try our maximum. If you could be in this delegation, we need a letter of you in which you ask to meet him. This letter have been written to him personally with your signature. In other words, you have to know these must be friends. They're going to write a letter and they're going to sign it with my name. So they have to know you pretty well, because nobody gives that authority to other people unless something is going on. Okay, so it goes on to say, one paragraph will be enough. Even this meeting will not be possible in this government, though the contact then we have with the office of the Supreme Leader. It will be later. But what is sure, that is the future government, that is the government now of Iran, is reformist, sweetie pies, not bootlickers, but they have some bootlicking characteristics. Reformers, government reformers, and may not continue the politics of Ahmadinejad to arrange this meeting between American and European resistance with the Supreme Guide. The resistance movement is out there, and they're writing to people who are part of that resistance movement. Be sure that this letter will never be published anywhere and stay in the office of Supreme Leader. So it's just, now, I mention those things because I'm going to show a lot of pictures and talk, so everybody bear with me for a while, because we're entering into a new stage of activity, and we want to be as clear as possible about that stage. So if it's a little out of order from time to time, just bear with us. Remember we talked about this ayat, La tabarakan, la tabakuna, tabarakan, tabakin. You shall surely travel from stage to stage. In other words, all of us, as we entered Islam, as we came into the world, as a little child, even in the mother, we develop from stage to stage. When we come out into the world, we go through a similar process of evolution, evolving from one stage after another till we pass out of this world. The only thing is that what we do in this world will go along with us, will prepare the way for where we're going to arrive at, right, at the end of this period. And And so this commentary here, then that you shall surely ride stage after stage. That is to say, you will pass from one stage of suffering to another, to what has been predestined for you. In other words, you're going to travel from stage to stage. Now, predestination in this case know that you're going to arrive at a certain place. You don't know where that is. You don't know what level that is. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, because Allah knows everything. So he has to know where you're going to wind up. So the Quran used the word ride to denote the ongoing of various stages of suffering. In other words, ride is used to really discuss the level that you will evolve through one stage after another. So ride is frequently used in Arabic to signify the passage through risk and difficulty. This usage suggests that difficulties and risks are like horses or mules to be ridden. Each one will take the rider to the stage that is predestined for it. In other words, it's like a ride. You catch the bus, you go from one stop after another. When you get to your stop, you get off, right? It's the same thing with this Islam. Tarabakuna means that you will travel from stage to stage, from evolution to evolution. You will go through a process of growth, development, and transition, transformation, until you reach your final stage of development. Each one will take the rider, the stage predestined for it and for them. Thus each one will deliver them to a new stage, which is again predetermined in the same way as the universal stages. So that means that we're going to travel in life from stage after stage till we reach our final development. I read this letter because this letter was coming from some friends of ours in, let's call it Country 2, if you remember. And Country 2 has been really busy for the last 42 years. Well, it's been busy a long time. So now it says, do you wonder that there had come to you a message from your Lord through a man of your own peoples, to warn you so that you may fear Allah and happily receive mercy? There's other ayats just like this, but that means that we're going to travel, or someone is going to go through the process of evolution. Now, all of us are going through our process of evolution, whether it's quick or slow, whether it's going straight up or going up in stages, right? Or whether we're drifting back down from where we was to even a lower stage. But as a Muslim, we feel and hope and pray that we're in an evolutionary transition, ascending transition. We're moving upward. So now, this is telling us that we're going to go through stage after stage. It's just like the bus out there. It's going to take you from one ride to another. And I have a picture here from, so just bear with me in some of this. This is a picture of Pete O'Neill and all the brothers. Believe it or not, these are cashew trees. This is Tanzania, and cashews don't grow from the ground. They come in big bulbs on trees. So they're under the cashew tree here. This is Pete. This is Charlotte and some of their friends. And he sent me a message, Brother Musa, enjoyed those tapes very, very much. Please send more by my mother, your homeboy from the days of struggle, and it has Pete O'Neill. So a lot of people don't know, they just see, well, this guy, Imam Musa, is a nice guy. but they don't add in the time that came before, right? And what happened during that process. We happened to come up in California, and California was a real heated place at that time. Oakland, the Black Panther Party developed. San Francisco, other groups developed. LA, other groups developed, and other groups developed here. And so, as years went on, those groups became national groups, or at minimum, regional groups. So, we went through our process also. And with all of these people, we had a chance to go through a very serious process. We may have started off all as revolutionaries, but we went through different changes. The Panther Party went through some changes. Half the people who was with us, almost most of them, had been members of the Panther Party, and we used that discipline to do whatever we did to produce what was healthy for us at that time, which was a lot of money. Very, very wealthy. In fact, for California, and California is such the way, it was only a few people even close to that wealth at that time. If we talked about wealth and power and ability to manage whatever it is we was managing, there were different stages. The 60s was one stage, 70s is another stage, the 80s just exploded. The 80s is when you get all the people that you hear about now. That was big. The 90s was big too. The only thing was, those people either didn't have a purpose for what they was doing, a direction for what they was going through. They only were there to get money and power. That's all it was. And they didn't get a chance to keep none of that money either. If you talk about some of the Free Ray Rick in LA, man, he was just knocking down $2-3 million a day, and he wound up with none of that money. He had count machines like the brothers here. Some of the brothers here in this region, and in New York and what have you, they was knocking down so much money, they could have built a whole empire. The only thing, they didn't keep none of the money. Hardly none of it, right? Most of them wound up in prison, right? And a lot of them wound up broke, flat broke. We was a little bit different. We had something in mind, and I want to try to explain it. So if it goes a little haphazard, just stick with me till we finish. Here's one thing it says: conference focuses on how social invisibility of African American Muslims lead to psychological trauma. In short, this is from around here, the Muslims got so off base, right? So unfulfilled, right here in this region, that they just felt disjointed, unconnected, and what have you. And this your dear brother here, this is in California when I was assaulted in the Masjid, and if you could see, these are like, not bumps, but yeah, it's kind of like bumps. These are bubbles on top of my head, where they went down on my head physically. When I went to the hospital, this big spot on my chest, they was going to operate on my chest first, because they thought with all this blood that it wasn't coming from my head, that it was right there, that I had a chest wound. So that's what they was going to do. Okay? I'll bring them all together in a minute. Just be patient. This is a picture with the rock bar in the Islamic Republic. This is Palestinian brother back here, Palestinian movement. We had meetings from time to time with, you know, the so-called important people in the movement. This brother's from Sudan, of course. This is the rock bar, leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay, this is Rouhani, the president now. He's a nice guy, but he's kind of easygoing. Not pro-American, but anyway, long story. Now, this is an article in their political newspaper in Iran. It says Wilayat Faqih is the salvation or something of the world, you know. I don't know all these. This is Persian, not Arabic. But anyway, this outlines a lecture that we gave at the University of Tehran and the stage and step-by-step process that we thought should be taken inside of the United States. Just bear with me as we move along. Islamic invitation of Turkey. You might think, well, we got 2, 3, 4, 5 people here, and that's the extent of the movement, but this is from Turkey. And they are explaining to their people, and we have friends there, that this is what is happening in America. And basically, for them, this is the hope of America. This is Islamic invitation of Turkey. Oh, and our nice, how to punk the FBI. How to punk the FBI. Okay, a lot of people thought, well, man, you can't talk to them white folks like that. That they a bunch of punks and sissies and stuff like that. But that's what we did. We're not going to go through all of this, but when we close out, we say, what do we say? Imam Musa's goal is to help you realize your goal in life. Lectures and workshops will be delivered in the style of Pinkmeat Markham, Moms Mabley, and Richard Pryor. So we were making fun of white folks. Most people are afraid of the FBI. Tell the truth. Did you know? Right? They're afraid of that. They don't want to have nothing to do with it. Because they're either afraid of them, or they're afraid they're going to find something, right? And everybody knows that when the feds get on you, usually you're a goner. But we said they're a bunch of punks. This is 2007, they was punks then, and they punks now. That's all there is to it. We'll get to the main point. Allah free my father. This is from back in 99 or something like that. But this is one of our protests. Harass and detain Muslims without due process. Imprison and detain Muslims based on secret evidence. Tap phone, they don't even have tap phones now, so you know this is a long time ago. Tap phone lines, violating privacy rights. Detain Muslims on the basis of guilt by association. Eliminate rights of Muslims to give any form of aid to terrorist countries, even if it is in the form of food. In other words, terrorist countries, who they call terrorists. People don't have to be terrorists. Just hold on a minute. It's my dear son here with his Playboy bunnies and what have you. Now, my sons, both of them traveled all around the country with me in the early days, and when we established our first centers around the United States. And at the height of our activity, I think we had at least 10 fully functioning Masjid. Because here he shot, you can see the poor guy got the bullet broke his arm. You can see because his arm is going out like this and down. And that's because, you know, he was my son. And he lived through it, 7 bullets, 6 or 7 bullets. And he came out alive. Not only the lady had one of them army knives, you know, with the ridges in it, and she was hitting him from behind a couple of times, 3 times to be exact. And he pulled through. I mean, he's fine. He has a few little aches and pains when you get a wound like that, you know, where it gets cold or something, and your bones, so that's him. That's one of them. This is a dear family member, like my wife in those days. This is when niggas were sharp. See, niggas nowadays wear tennis shoes and stuff like that. This is suede, Hamburg, mink hat, not mink, but this is all mink, this is mink. And then people be sharp. That's the way people used to dress. You know, nowadays they wear tennis shoes and stuff out there. I don't know what's going on. But it's okay, they can wear all the tennis shoes they want. Okay. That's President Ahmadinejad, a friend of mine. I can tell you, mink hat's sharp as a tack. I mean, you know, and you can tell these cars are old. It's probably 69, but it's all hooked up. The other thing I'd like to, y'all would remember this, a fundraiser, Jum'ah and dinner for family of Imam Luqman. Imam Luqman is a brother of ours. He was martyred in 2009 up in Detroit. They say it was 3,000 people at the funeral. They didn't raise a dime for him. I talked to his wife on the phone. At that time, she was from Tanzania. He said they don't even have a gravestone. I said, how much would it be? So I just sent it up there right away for a gravestone, so at least people will know where to find it. Of course, they sent her back home. She was from Tanzania, and they sent her back home. This your poor brother here. This is Mukhtar, the tattletale, you know, in California, and they drugged me out of the bathroom. That's why I'm barefooted, got clothes hanging all off. Ain't no big deal. This is only 2 years ago. This is in our Masjid. You can see the sign, Masjid al-Islam. That's in Oakland. Just bear with me. We're going to get to the point in just a minute. Creating a new global civilization of Islam. This was many of the so-called heavyweights at that time, but you can scratch out some of them, like scratch there, and this is Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui. Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui was head of the Masjid Ashura Islamiyya fi Britannica. That is he developed the Muslim Parliament of Great Britain. It was a good show. Back in the back is Yaqub Zaki. Yaqub Zaki is a great professor in, it's not Ireland, it was Scotland. So if I wanted to deal with European history, I would ask him about European. He was the most skilled person that I ever met on European history. So I asked him about William Wallace. You know, remember William Wallace? And he knew it exactly. And he would say, well, what did they say in there? They said this, they said that. He said, that's true, that's not true. He could tell you right off the top of his head. You know, we'll come up to a few more things and then we'll get into the subject. No war with Iran. This is our brother, poor guy, Trayvon Martin, was martyred. You know, they could just shoot him down a few years ago, and we had a program for him. This one was on the grassy knoll, where John Kennedy, if you remember, was hit grassy knoll. Okay. Now, this is a friend of mine, Sekou Dingo, when he first got out of the penitentiary. So we went up to visit with him and hang out with him and try to put him up on what's going on in modern times. But we used to play basketball together every day when we was in Algeria. He was in exile in Algeria. He's the one that was at Joanne Chesimard. They was on the freeway taking her to court with a big long line of police taking her to court back in 69 and 70, something like that. And they rescued her. They, you know, usually Negroes don't do that. They shoot each other, but they don't go shooting at police, generally. But our brothers, they knocked her, they rescued her. She'd been in Cuba, I think, since then, right? She's been in Cuba since that time. So we used to play basketball together every day in Algeria because we wanted to have a physical fitness program, and other people was kind of busy going down to the Rue de Douche Mourad, buying hashish and stuff, and they wasn't worried about staying in shape. Our idea was, if you're going to have a revolution, you have to be in shape, and you can't be full of no hash, you know. But in Algeria, that was everybody South Africa. Looked like I was running for president. This is a few years back. Imam Musa to South Africa tour 2013. And this is for Rauf, you know, the anti-drug program. With the experience that we had from drugs, we helped start several drug programs around the world. And all of them were successful, or are successful, just from what we had been involved in here. Turn the heat down there. So anyway, what else we got here? There's President Ahmadinejad. You know, when we was talking in his office, I was trying to think of something, and he said, he gave the answer to the response. He was saying, we're all in tune, you know, and some things are beyond translation. That's what he said. So, with all the revolutionaries, Hezbollah support in America, on and on and on. I'll be going to the point in just a minute. Again, another picture of the rock bar. Now, these last two, revolution from Egypt to the Americas. Oakland and the American Islamic Revolution. Oakland and the American Islamic Revolution. So you have Imam Jamil, right? He's in prison for the rest of his life. We hope we can get him out soon. Imam Luqman, martyred, up in Detroit, shot 18, 19, something like that. Yes. And dear brother here, you know, okay, why is this, what does this list mean? The top brother, we got your homeboy, he's in prison for the rest of his life. Okay, your other homeboy, yeah, he's dead. We shot him for no reason, and that's the way that goes. And if you don't be quiet, nigga, we're going to finish you off too. That's in 2011, and we haven't quieted down yet, and don't intend to quiet down. The reason we don't intend to quiet down because we came from a movement era. When whatever we did it to rescue the people from oppression. I took a different move than Imam Jamil and some of the other brothers. I was actually involved in drugs, you know, here in America. But the drugs that we sold were healthy drugs, like cocaine and marijuana and stuff like that. Believe it or not, we didn't sell no heroin, because heroin was a death dose. So we sold, you know, at that time, what's called a healthy drug. Snorting cocaine, not crack now. I'm not talking about no crack or whatever else they got free-based. When I came home, man, from the penitentiary, they was free-basing. And I said, boy, do y'all know what y'all got? See, down in South America, when we was in Colombia, the way we would test the cocaine's quality, we would do it like they do freebase. We would take some water and then put a little ether in there. Oily line would develop right in it. Then we would drop the cocaine in there. If you put 1 gram of cocaine, which is 10/10 of a gram, and then you took the eyedropper and dropped it out on a plate, on a little scale, and you measured, and 10/10 came back, you had pure cocaine. If 9/10 came back, you had 90% cocaine, which would be bad. If you had 5/10 come back, you mean it was cut one time. You had half cocaine and half cut. That's what we used in Colombia to test the purity of cocaine. When I got back here, went to the prison and got out, the Negroes was smoking freebase. That's how Richard Pryor and them all got burned up. They changed later on from ether to some baking soda. I don't know what it was. It was past my time. But in the old days, they used to use Richard Pryor and them, all them people that got burned up years ago, they got set on fire because of that ether. You know what I mean? Ether is flammable. And so they was taking their cocaine back using ether. and they was getting burned up and setting on fire. You could try, Oakland was so bad. See, it started in Oakland and San Francisco and LA. It didn't start over here, it got over here years later. You could drive down the street and if you saw a house with a burned out window in it, you knew them niggas was in there, you know, freebasing, and they caught on fire, because ether is flammable, you know. And just a little side, when we was in South America and we was using that test for, you know, for cocaine, man, we lit the thing one time, and that lifted up off the ground and slid across the table. I said, that's some bad blow there. I'm telling you, that's some bad blow. It lifted up and slid on over. I said, man, look at here. I don't know if I want any of that. That is serious. Of course, that just meant it was good. Okay, now we're going to get to what we want to talk about today. This is Last Poets. Saturday, the Last Poets used to come out to California because we used to invite them out there because they was the last Islamic revolutionary group still doing anything. This was like in '82 and all that. And they were part of the Dar al-Islam movement. So they was part of the same type of thinking that we were involved in. And I wanted to set the stage for what we want to talk about today and where the Islamic movement is today. When we showed you a picture of our brother, he's still in Tanzania right now, they wanted tapes of our programs because we were the only group in America that continued, that started back then, but we continued to evolve. Right? Everybody else got stuck in black nationalism and what have you, but we continued to evolve to higher levels of militancy and black nationalism, and then finally to Islam. And when we came to Islam, we were able to weed out the groups that were non-revolutionary, which I won't mention their names, and we wound up associating with either the Islamic Party from here, right, or the Dar al-Islam movement. The Last Poets, Imam Jamil, all of those were part of the Islamic movement in North America, related to a more militancy type of movement, a more liberation orientated, less cooperative. Some of our other movements that were bigger and more powerful, they lost their power because they were collaborators and cooperators with the United States government, which we used to call in those days the Beast. This was a criminal organization known as the United States government. It was then, and it is now. So what we want to do is spend a little bit of time to discuss the process of evolution. The first ayat that we read talked about moving from one stage to another. Tarbaikan, you know, you will surely evolve from stage to stage, from position to position. That's what we've been involved in here. We are not a revolutionary group, but we are a group that's involved in evolution. Evolution, that means that you start from your simplest form and you evolve stage by stage, step after step. It's like the ayat we read on ride, that you move. When you catch this ride, you move from stage to stage, from evolution to evolution, until you reach your final destination. It's like taking a bus out here, and you get on that bus and you ride stop after stop, and you get off at the site where you had designed your spot to get off. Okay, now, so So this is from Sayyid Qutb, talking about Sayyid Qutb was a great personality in Islam. And many of the books that he wrote, he was martyred in 1966 by the Abdul Nasser government in Egypt. Many of the people that we were associated with or had ideas about, this was the Ikhwan al-Muslimin on a higher level. And Sayyid Qutb wrote in his book about moving from stage to stage, okay, from place to place, from evolution to evolution. We see the movement today that has the ability to move from stage to stage, to evolve. And we see the movement today as kind of frozen or stuck in a place where it's at. Stuck by inability to visualize a better future. Just inability to visualize a better future. Sometimes we can't see, or we're not willing to take the chance or make use of the opportunity to evolve step by step, stage by stage, till we reach a stage of relativity when we're relative to the environment in which we live. The Islamic movement today is at a certain level, but we're not using the ability that Allah gave us to move from stage to stage. That's why we can have people who may not be Muslim, but they are martyred in the society, Trayvon Martin and others, and anybody you want to name, people amongst our people are martyred on a daily, on a weekly basis, and it's unbelievable that we have became kind of fossilized. Okay, no, we put it this way, they have become fossilized. We here have not become fossilized. Some of the audience here may have become fossilized. But the movement is alive and well. This is what we owe our brothers who gave their life. Man, half of California got killed in those days. The Soledad brothers, George Jackson, all of those people, right? And all here, the New York 21, people blown up all over D.C. This is one of the serious chapters of the Black Panther Party was out here in D.C., right? All of them have been blocked and stopped by the system through lawful and unlawful means. During every period of history, somebody evolves to a level where they're able to make a contact with the people during that period, during that time, and assist those people in evolving with them to a higher stage of development, where they can now use, where they can now benefit from all of the knowledge that they've come in contact with. Okay, in our time, people say, well, y'all was drug dealers. No, we just sold cocaine and marijuana. In those days, ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's something wrong, it's wrong. Let me rephrase this. Cocaine, when you snort it and all of that, it ain't like heroin. Heroin, you're going to be addicted and everything. But when you just snort cocaine, when your money gets funny, you're going to stop and start getting your money back up if you still can. You know what I mean? In other words, it's not addictive. You like it, but it ain't going to hook you where now you got to break in houses and go crazy and all that. Cocaine, hydrochloride, not crack and whatever else they got running around. Not that stuff, but good old time cocaine hydrochloride. That's what I'm talking about. When your money get funny, you're going to put it up because you can't afford it no more. When you get back in the big time, you back on the blow again. When you go, brother, this is an up and down cycle, right? That everybody went through. And I remember we was going through that cycle. I mean, we got big and we was blowing every day, all night. And one of the Ward brothers who was in the car one night down in front of the California Hotel. And I told my partner, you got another one of them things back there? And he said, yeah. He pulled it out, and we hit it. He said, you keep that up, you won't be captain of the ship. I didn't pay no attention. The next day, I went and locked up all the blow and left it locked up for months. That was it for our organization. He was telling the truth. He was saying, you keep this up, you won't be captain of the ship. You'll be like all the other poor Negroes. You got big for a while, then you start spinning that blowing, staying up all night partying, and the next day, we was up in the hills. They got them hills around Oakland, at least I was. All my partners, they was hid at the house. I'd go by and knock on the, come on out of there. And they just stay in that hid. They wouldn't come out because they knew we gotta go run in the hills and lift iron. And you could tell them Cadillacs in the old days used to have air ride, and if you just got home, you could hear, you know, the air hissing out of that air. You know the thing that lifts the car up, it's so heavy. So anyway, we were so fortunate. When we wind up in Algeria, ready for revolution. That's why Sekou Dinga and all the brothers that had been in exile from over here, and some from California, elders and them, was over in Algeria. When I got there, we had a meeting, and I said, you know, now I'm ready to make revolution. I'm just ready to go. I said, you know, you can't go down to the Rue de Douche Morad every day buying hashish and talk about you're going to have a revolution. You know, because that don't work. And I was talking about discipline, structure, organization. Because, you know, to get anywhere in the gangland type thing, you had to be big. Now, the difference between us and other Negroes, we never killed nobody, and we never even hurt nobody. Can you imagine? The biggest thing going in California in those days, and we ain't nothing, we had the ability, but we never hurt nobody, because we was black-minded. You know, we was black-minded. See, even getting money, during that period, it was to help the movement. That's why in our city in Oakland, we employed more people than the city did. Everybody had houses if they wanted them, and cars. We used to go down the street and we say, old friend, man, what's happening with you, man? The gang's doing too good. Da, da, da. Well, come on with me. We go down, call over if you think I'm lying. Go down, that's when they used to drive Cadillac. Hey man, which one of the boys you like out there? Man, I like that Broham. Oh, you're getting greedy. Get one of them Coupe or something like that. Still a brand new Cadillac. You think I'm lying? Call out to Oakland. Drive down, see somebody else. Boy, you looking bad. Your mouth turning white. What's happening with you? Man, it ain't doing no good. Well, come on with me, because everybody used to like Cadillac, so if you want to make somebody happy, right? Buy them a Cadillac. And that's what we used to do. You call out there, you'll find out. Because we found out something. Once you get rich, if you just rich by yourself, what's the fun of you having all the money and ain't nobody else got none? Right? So we started paying everybody more, and everybody got rich. Everybody got rich. Everybody was driving Brohams and all that stuff. Everybody that wanted one could have one. If they didn't have one and they needed a little money, hey man, we'd go buy them one. I'm trying to tell you that everything we was doing from that time had a level of innocence in it. A level of innocence. That means we didn't sell no heroin. We didn't sell anything that we considered harmful to the people. Because we knew that heroin, you ain't going nowhere. And we was there and we watched in 1968 when they flooded Oakland with heroin. In the early 60s, you couldn't sell no heroin in Oakland. The Vice Squad wouldn't allow it. By 1968 and 69, Oakland was flooded with heroin. Had much heroin as LA did. Why? because Oakland was the center of the black movement on the West Coast at that time. So the government had to use the biggest killer in their arsenal, right, was Heron. Heron came to Oakland, say big time in 68, by 69 the rebellion was over. It was over. Detroit was so bad that in the in the late 70s, 60s, they put the police out, they put the National Guard out, they had to bring the 82nd Airborne Division in there to take over Detroit. Does anybody remember that? They had to bring the crackest army troops that they had to Detroit to take it over. That's how things was moving in those days. That's how things was moving. Why could they take it over in a hot minute when before they had to bring the police? The police couldn't take it over. The National Guard couldn't take it over in Detroit. What had happened? Well, they brought Heron there, and in a few minutes it was all over, right? The rebellion was over. Okay, now, what I'm trying to say is a movement should evolve with the time in which we're living in. We're living in a time right now that's crying out for transition, transformation. Call it rebellion, but not the same type, right? The American people, they can shoot a black person down nowadays easier than they could in those days. Hey, shoot another Negro, that's all right. Go on, finish, right? So our organizational position should be to elevate our people level after level, step by step, just like traveling on a short journey and getting on the bus at this stage, Tabarkan, and go to the next, pass that stop, and you get off the bus where you feel like you can be an aid and assistance to the movement, right? That's the way it is now. And we're saying this to you because this is, ain't nobody else doing it. Ain't nobody in America. They've weakened, they've broken the back of all of the Islamic movements in North America. And you can do what you want, but we're not going to stand for it because we know the quality of people that we come from. We know that we set the right goals. We stick to them. If we set our level of credibility and cooperation with each other, there's nothing to hold us back. We've been sitting around whining and crying a little too much. And Allah is sending us signs. The great America is not the bad boy that it used to be. Tell the truth. They're laughing at America all over the world. America used to be the baddest bear in the woods, isn't that right? Now, America's back is broken. Its economy will break. Don't worry about it. The attitude that people have about America is weakening every day. You can see it on the news. You can tell when they brought Don in, you can tell the flim-flam is in. They got Don in, and Don gonna mess up everything. He has. He hasn't messed up everything. He's fixed everything properly for me and you. And I'm not talking about going down and turning over everything down. I'm talking about starting with ourselves, repairing ourselves, restructuring ourselves as individuals and as a collective, reorganizing ourselves, right? So we can put our hand on things and evolve it step by step, stage by stage, till it reaches its own level of completion. We can do that right now. But the thing is, do we want to do it? Do we want to re-involve ourselves? Have we been beaten back so much by the system that we're going to lay quiet, we're going to take it easy? Right? We're going to take it easy because there ain't been no successful rebellion here in America. That was then. Right? But see, there was no successful rebellions in Rome till Allah shook the Roman Empire up, and then all of a sudden, right, Everybody's going through different changes. That's what's happening in America right now. So it's not how, but what part do we want to play in this American transformation? For the good of America, not just me and you, white America, black America, Mexican American America, all of America, right? We have the opportunity now to influence the direction of change nationwide and then worldwide. How you say worldwide? Worldwide because you look at the Negro. Where the Negro go, the world go, right? When the Negro start rapping, everybody want to rap. I don't care what it is, right? When a Negro come out with a new dance, pretty soon you can look in Scotland, they doing it, right? You can look in Scandinavia, they doing it, right? If you talk a certain way, right, they're going to use the slang that you use. Eventually, they do everything that the Negro do all around the world once he gets started. Isn't that right? Everything. The world follows us. Suppose we pick the right path to the glory of Allah instead of glorifying His dunya. What if we do the right thing in America? Me and you. They follow us anyway. Right? People are prepared to follow you. They want to talk. You don't know it because you maybe, I don't know how many of you travel around the world. The people is trying to walk black, talk black, and act black. Everywhere. And the whiter the people are, the blacker they want to be. Right? You can see it on TV. Everybody just want to be black. There's blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. Hey, so brother, hey, this, that, something's wrong with these people. Right? I'm just trying to tell you. For the historical processes we've been involved in, stripped of language, culture, and all of that, Allah want to be kind to us. And Allah want to put us out, take us from in the back, put us out front. We can do it. That's what our mission is. Now that's what we're going to try to do. We're not going to wait around any longer. We wait for a while to go through different periods. But we had a chance to get all the stuff. Now, this is one of them cars. This is an old car back in '69 or something. Mink all over the car. You know, niggas didn't have mink then. We had mink in the car, mink everywhere. Now, I may look like a old, decrepit old fella, but I was the sharpest Negro in town. This is sharp as you can get without being a clown. Anything further than this, the colors, the combination, black and white, diamonds, mink, everything, everywhere, they said this was the sharpest a nigga could get. Now this is years ahead of us. This is not the Superfly period. The Superfly period come after. After this, years after this. This is probably '69 or something. The big shakes, there they are. At Niagara Falls. There's Larry Johnny. There's the ambassador up there at the U.S. The head of Jaffa Sadiq University, you know, is there. Oh, this is Niagara Falls, probably about '84. We just getting rolling. But people know we had the possibility to do this way back then. You know, when people wanted to change America, they always came to us first. These tenders, friends of mine, you know, everybody was trying to pimp in those days. I would take all of my girlfriends, we'd ride around town, and they'd just have a good time. We'd have a good time, you know. What I'm saying is that was the days of pimping and hustling. But I used to tell man, I say, you'll go broke pimping, man. You know how much people's body you have to sell to even buy a new car, pimping, right? It's ridiculous, it's terrible. They're making $20 a piece, and then they're selling using 15 with us, with the cocaine, you know. All the so-called big pimps, we could sit up all night and lay out the blow, and they would run their people out and run them right back to where we was. This was not smart at all. We want to bring that expertise. Now, this is almost 50 years later. Do you know how much we have gained since then? Yeah, this is 69 Cadillac. That means, yeah, that's 52, 53 years old. Way back then. That means we got a chance to get everything that y'all like. Then, when you're young, 25, 24, when you're young, so you get it out of your system, and the rest of your life you can spend your mind and your body and your energy on doing what's good and doing what's right. Because you know you ain't missing nothing, right? You know you ain't missing nothing. Because you had a chance. That's a great blessing that allow you to get everything that everybody is talking about is big. And anybody that don't have one, you buy it for them, cash money. Okay, that's the way some people used to do there. Here's what we're saying, dear believers. We have an opportunity and a challenge right now. It's on us. We're going on about our business. You know why? Because we don't believe this system is no good. It's gone past its prime. Its expiration date is up. Okay? That's the way we believe about the system. So we're saying, anybody that want to be a part of it, welcome aboard. It don't make no difference whether he was a tattletale, whether he was a snitch, whether he was dealing, whatever, it don't make no difference. This is a new day, right? If I was one of the main drug dealers in California, then went down to South America. Y'all see what's that, the guy shooting up everybody? Scarface? Scarface. I was back here in the penitentiary when Scarface come out. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you is evolution is one of the stages of revolution, to evolve step by step, stage by stage, till you reach a level of completion. So if you want to have a revolution, you have to first have an evolution internally. That means your hopes have to evolve, your dreams have to evolve, your abilities have to evolve, step by step, stage by stage. What we're saying is this: we're getting ready to go. I know it ain't but a handful of people, but anybody, welcome aboard. But we're not going to wait anymore for people to come to a conclusion. Anybody that don't know that Islamic functional movement is necessary in America today, things is not, what do they say? The lights is on, but the elevator ain't going all the way to the top, something like that, they say. That means you're showing signs of life, but it ain't no real life there, just a blinking light on up there. That means you may be walking and talking, but you're not saying the right thing. You may be walking, but you're not going to the right place. We're saying, for history's sake, for all of our people, you got to imagine how many of our people had the opportunity, the last poets, all of these people, Imam Jamil, right? The New York 21, all of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. What did they do? They murdered everybody, right? Now, we've been talking to the white man like he needs to be talked to for over 40 years, and we're still here, so that's a sign something's going on, right? How to punk the FBI? We didn't repump the FBI. Ain't nothing happened. You know what I mean? Nothing happened. I mean, 24 hours a day surveillance and there's little stuff like that, but that ain't nothing. We're here. We can do this. I'm telling you, we can do it. A Allah is on our side. If Allah allowed us to survive slavery, going in and out of penitentiary, prostitution, alcoholism, and whatever else you see on Benning Road, anywhere else, right? Despair, hopelessness. If Allah brought us through all of that, hey, we can go anywhere. And I'm telling you, we don't have to be tattletales. We don't have to be snitches. We can stand up and say, hey, I was snitching last month, but I ain't gonna do it no more. I got hold to this dean. Yeah, I got hold to this dean, and I'm stretching out. That's what you tell boss man. So I said, boss man, I told on the last Negro, I ain't talking, I ain't telling on nobody else. Ain't nothing he can do. He got his hands full. The White House is, excuse me, damn near on fire down there. With Don down there, he might set it on fire the day he leaves. He might pour gasoline, or you don't know what he's going to do, because he didn't run himself crazy, to tell the truth. He's been crazy all the time, but when he got in there messing with them big Zionists, they mess your life up, have you do for them, then they run you crazy. That's why Don said, now, like this, don't know what to do. He don't know what to do, man. America is like that. You want to help America? Do what this movement is calling for. Do what this movement is calling for. That's why can't nobody do nothing. We're not anti-American. Well, we're pro-American. Pro-American people. Not the government killing everybody, right? Why do you think we're still here? They didn't kill everybody, and the only ones talking out the side of their mouth is up here, right? Tell the truth. You ain't gonna get no live khutbah nowhere else but here. Them imams is over there hiding under the couch or something. I mean, they ain't, hey. And then they got their little scholars for dollars, talking about floaty-woaty stuff. Well, you ain't said nothing about boss man, so how you talking, right? What are you talking about, right? Is that true or it's not? It's either true or it's not true. We have opportunity. Dear brothers and sisters, in closing, we're going to find us an ayat to close off of. Do you wonder that there had come to you a message from your Lord through a man of your own people, a nigga, to warn you so that you may fear Allah and happily receive his mercy? See, y'all waiting on somebody to floating over here from Saudi Arabia somewhere on a carpet. Come on in. Come out with a big bag, some of the big old dicker bead, big old fat dicker bead. Right? That's scared of the white man. Right? How many of them people you have? You want somebody from right in this neighborhood, well, East Oakland and DC, about the same. Well, they were the same. When I got here, East Oakland was still black. It ain't black no more. Puro mexicano, bastante mexicanos. Everywhere. It's California, it belonged to them now, they just got it back, that's all. California, that's where it come from, Mexico, and now the Mexicans got it back. They deserve it. On our block, when we first got there, it was 2 black families back in the 50s. In by the 60s, everybody was black. And now there's 1 black family left on the block, us. Everybody else, puro Mexicanos. East Oakland, Mexicanos. You think you see Latinos around here? You ain't seen nothing. Go to California where they come from. I'm telling you, they deserve it. It was theirs all the time. And it's all going back. Things are going back to where they belong. California, you know, like California. I don't want to get into it, but that's what it means. California. From Calif, right? Lead, rule, all that stuff. Fornia, just another Spanish word. See, in the old days, the Spanish was being ruled by Arabs. So a lot of the words, you know, have that connotation. Anyway, do you wonder that there had come to you a message from your Lord through a man of your own people? This is the problem. He's a nigger. He can't know nothing. And he's that broken Arabic he's talking, right? Well, what about the sweetie pie niggas? What are they talking about? They know Arabic from this ear to that ear. What are they doing? What are they doing? They know they got so much thick they can stand on top of it. It ain't doing nothing. Right here. To a man of your own people. You can't say we not from the people. Well, we are. To warn you so that you may fear Allah and happily receive His mercy. A man from amongst yourself. That's our goal. To rebuild the Islamic movement in North America. A functional, day-to-day Islamic movement in North America. We thank you, dear believers, for paying attention today. We don't have time to go to the rest of this stuff on the floor, but we have hopes for Islam. We have hopes for you. Your only hope is Islam. The only hope for America, technically, is Islam, right? They shoot Negroes down in the street worse than they did in the 60s. They shoot more Negroes down now. I mean, like it's already approved. Yeah, they're shot-filled, approved Negro, not punching bags, but bullet bags to accept all the bullets. And they don't do nothing if you know, like you can see my son, he got, what he got? He had 6 or 7 bullets in him, sitting there in the hospital. Yeah, 6 or 7 bullets. Then they hit him from behind with a nice little young lady with one of them Ritchie knives that they have at the gangster store. You know, that be pulling out fast. Hey man, you stick them knives in somebody and the ridges be pulling out pieces. Of course he lived, and he may get his sense back in his head and come back to Islam. That's what we're going to try to do. The other son is the same way. What did he got? I don't know how many times he got shot, but they used to travel all over the country, and they went to all the mosques. My youngest son, he'd been here in D.C., used to hang out on 14th Street way back when, and all that. They're in their 50s now. But they had a chance to see what the world is made up of. And guess what? They're still alive. Really, that's the only thing I really asked Allah. I didn't ask Allah for them to do this or that. I just said, oh Allah, keep them alive long enough so that they get a chance. Because when they was traveling when they was young, they was young. They was in maybe 12, 13, 14. My oldest son was 16, 17. You know, I've been doing this since the early 80s. Well, late 70s, technically. Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and negligence. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by death and the oppression of men. Oh Allah, suffice us with what is lawful, keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is desires. Amen. He comes.
Allahu